Hi, second graders. Mr. Hawley here with the teacher's pet, Maverick. Hi, buddy. I'm doing the video for Wednesday, June 3rd, 2020. Today I will be teaching more about time, and I will also be teaching more about U.S. symbols. So let's get started. First things first, I want to review a little bit about what we learned Monday. If I'm looking at this clock and I'm seeing that the hour hand is on the 6 and the minute hand is on the 12, then this is 6 o'clock. If it looks like this, the hour hand is now in between the 6 and 7, which means I am still in the hour of 6 because I have not reached the 7 or went past it. So I'm still in the hour of 6. Minute hand is on the 6, we say 30. So this is 6:30. Now, today I'm going to teach you about the AM and PM that comes after times. When you hear parents talking about time, or when you hear about a television show that's going to be playing on the TV, or an event that's going to be happening, and they tell you the start time of the event, it says AM or PM. I want you to understand that there we go. AM AM is from morning until noon. Okay? Noon is the first PM time. PM is afternoon starting with noon until midnight. Midnight, 12 o'clock in the morning, 12 o'clock at night when it's dark out, is midnight. That is the first AM time. So midnight starts the morning, noon starts PM. So when I had this clock and I said it was 6:30, well, if it's 6:30 and I'm getting up to get ready to work, it would be 6:30 a.m. If it's excuse me, dark outside and I'm watching the evening news, that would be 6:30 p.m. Another example. 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock a.m. would be about the time we would start school uh, when the school day started. 8 o'clock in the morning a.m. 8 o'clock p.m. is about the time right now that it starts to look like it's beginning to get dark outside. It looks like evening outside. 8 o'clock p.m. That's usually the time that if my son and I are deciding to play some video games together that day, this is the time we stop. 8 o'clock p.m. so that there's still some time to watch some TV or do something else. 8 o'clock a.m., that's around the time some people get up. This was the time when we were able to go to the actual school building, this was the time we had school starting, roughly. A little bit before, but close to it. Let's go for another example. I'm going to go with 12 o'clock. There are two 12 o'clocks. One is called noon, one we have called noon, and one we have called midnight. Noon is the one that happens midday. Many people eat lunch around noontime. That is the first PM time. Okay? Noon is the first PM time. 12 o'clock PM. And that's around the time that many people eat lunch. Midnight, we consider that the middle of the night. It's pitch black outside. That is the first AM time. That is the first morning time. Most people are asleep at that time unless they work some kind of late night shift. So, midnight, the 12 o'clock midnight, is the one we are sleeping during. And 12 o'clock noon is the first PM time, and that's the time we usually eat lunch. So hopefully that helps you think about AM and PM. So right now, when you are watching this video, you're supposed to be, it's technically, you can watch it whenever you want, but the um, original time was 10 a.m. on Wednesday. I make sure my videos are posted by 10 a.m. on Monday and Wednesday. Usually I post them the day before, but 10 a.m. was the time, so that's 10 in the morning. Now, of course, I'm doing the pre-recorded videos so you can watch them whenever it's convenient for you and your family. I did that on purpose. AM from morning until noon. This is early day. PM afternoon until we hit that 12 o'clock midnight time at night while we're sleeping. And then that midnight time is the first AM time. So midnight and noon are the cutoffs for AM and PM. Noon is the first PM time. Midnight is the first AM time. All right. If you have any questions about that, feel free to talk to me. Have your parents message me of some way, and I will definitely help you with it. Now, one other thing we've been talking about is our U.S. symbols for social studies. I'm going to remind you that a symbol is just something that stands for or represents another thing. Last week I mentioned that I wanted you to be looking at the videos for the Liberty Bell, the Mount Rushmore. All of a sudden I can't think of the other one. Liberty Bell, Mount Rushmore. There were three. And we talked about how Mount Rushmore is a symbol of leadership. It's also seen as a symbol of patriotism. Well, this week, I thought it would be a good idea to actually give you a chance to see some of these symbols. So, what I have here is my old ancient iPad. But on this iPad, I have pulled up a picture, an actual photograph of the Liberty Bell. A few photographs of what it looks like in Philadelphia. You can see the crack. It cracked the first time it was rang. I have Google Earth on this iPad. And before I started my teaching video, I actually went in and located the two national monuments they wanted you to look at for U.S. symbols. The Statue of Liberty, that was the one, Statue of Liberty, and Mount Rushmore. Now, Statue of Liberty is seen as a symbol of freedom. Many immigrants who come to America see the Statue of Liberty as a symbol of freedom. So, as you can see here, I've actually done a search and I've got it set up so that it will take us to the Statue of Liberty National Monument. So that's Liberty Island. And if I zoom in, first let me turn it, and then zoom in. There's what Liberty Island looks like if you were there visiting. You can see it towering up over. You can see the torch in Lady Liberty's hand. She's holding a plaque. If I go back into my searches, I also did a search earlier today for Mount Rushmore. Now it's going to take a minute to get there because it has to go all the way across the country to South Dakota. As you can see, there's a mountain there. Oops, I got to get used to where the camera is. Oops. Let me zoom in. Turn this a little. Oops. There you can see the four presidents' faces on the monument. George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, Abraham Lincoln. What I like about this angle, you can actually see back here, there was a entryway. I think they have blocked this off from people to go there now, but there looks like something almost like a cave back here behind. And you used to be able to go into there, and there was almost like a museum in there. I don't think they allow people to go inside that opening anymore. It was considered not to be safe. But that's what Mount Rushmore would look like. One thing I want to talk about also is the American flag. Our current American flag looks a bit different from the very first one. The very first flag that was made for our country had a circle of 13 stars, and those 13 stars represented the first 13 states in our country. Well, now our flag looks a little different. It looks just like the one we have in our classroom. And I want to go over some of the symbolism by showing you a picture of it and then talking about what we see. So I clicked on a picture. There's a picture of the American flag. Now, the 50 stars on the blue field represent the 50 states in our country. There's a reason why there's 13, a total of 13 stripes, some red, some white. Those represent those first 13 states that were in our country that were originally colonies. So the American flag is seen as a symbol of patriotism. Patriotism is that pride for your country. And there's symbols on the flag that help present some of our American history. Even the colors, red, white, and blue, have symbolism. The other American symbol that they want us to talk about in our social studies this week is the Pledge of Allegiance. Now, the Pledge of Allegiance was really originally designed as an oath. It's basically an oath of patriotism. So it's a symbol of patriotism. It's supposed to be that you are um, basically saying that you will be a patriot of our country, that you will support our country, and that you accept any uh, protection that the government would give you, that our country would give you, being an American citizen. So, U.S. symbols, time, those were the things we talked about today. I think I will read two more chapters of the Magic Treehouse book. So let me just quickly grab that. Monday, I started reading Sunset of the Sabertooth. I made it to chapter 3. Chapter 3 is titled Burr. Remember, the kids are in the Ice Age, and they are there in just their swimsuits and towels, so they are very cold. They have found a cave, and we found out that the cave they are in is a great cave bear cave. Hopefully, they're not in too much trouble. Chapter 3, Burr. Annie, whispered Jack again. No answer. He put his book quietly into his pack. He stepped deeper into the cave. Annie, he said a little louder. Jack stepped on the bones. The wet dog smell grew stronger. He kept going, deeper into the smelly blackness. He ran into something. He gasped. Jack, said Annie, is that you? Didn't you hear me calling? Jack whispered. We have to get out of here. Wait, she said. Someone's sleeping back there. Hear him snoring? Jack heard a low, deep moaning. It was loud, then soft, loud, then soft. That's not a person, he said. It's a great cave bear. A booming snore shattered the air. Yikes, said Annie. Go, go, said Jack. He and Annie ran through the cave, over the bones, and out into the falling snow. They kept on going. They ran between fallen rocks and under jagged cliffs. Finally, they stopped and turned around. As they could see, or I'm sorry, all they could see was snow and rocks and their own footprints, no bear. Phew, said Annie, that was lucky. Yeah, said Jack. We probably never even woke up. He probably never even woke up. We just got in a panic. Annie huddled close to Jack. Brr, I'm freezing, she said. Me too, he said. He took off his glasses to wipe off the snow. The cold wind blew against his bare legs. Wow, Annie said. Look. She pointed to something behind Jack. What? Jack put his glasses back on and turned around. Under a cliff was a wide ledge. Under the ledge was another cave. Only this cave seemed to have a golden glow. This one looked cozy and safe and warm. So there's Jack and Annie running from the cave bear cave. Chapter 4, Cave Kids. Jack and Annie crept to the cave and peeked inside. A small flame danced from a bed of glowing coals. Near the fire were knives, axes, and hollowed out stones. Animal skins were neatly stacked against the wall. People must live here, said Annie. Maybe it's the home of the Cro-Magnons we saw, said Jack, looking around. Let's go inside and get warm, said Annie. Jack and Annie moved quickly to the fire and warmed their hands. Their shadows danced on the stone walls. Jack pulled out his Ice Age book. He found a picture of a cave. He read, Cro-Magnons made many things from animals, plants, and stone. They made flute-like musical instruments from mammoth bones. They made ropes by braiding plant fibers. They made axes and knives from stone. Jack pulled out his notebook and pencil. He started a list. Cro-Magnons made bone flutes, plant ropes, stone axes, and knives. Ta-da! Said Annie. Jack looked up. Annie was wearing a coat. It had a hood and long sleeves. It went all the way down to her sneakers. Where did you get that? Asked Jack. From that pile of furry skin, said Annie, pointing. These must be their clothes. Maybe they're being mended. She picked up another coat and handed it to Jack. Try one, it's really warm, she said. Jack put his backpack and towel down on the hard dirt floor. He slipped on the coat. There's a picture of Jack and Annie trying on the animal skin coats. It did feel very warm and soft. We look like cave kids, said Annie. Squeak! Peanut peeked out of Jack's pack lying on the floor. You stay in there, said Annie. There's no teeny coat for you. Peanut vanished back into the pack. I wonder how they made these coats, said Jack. He turned the pages in the book until he found a picture of Cro-Magnon women sewing. He read Cro-Magnons scraped reindeer skins with flint rocks to make them soft. They used bone needles to sew the skins together for clothing. Jack added to his list, reindeer skin clothes. I hope the cave people won't mind if we borrow their coats, said Jack. Maybe we should give them our towels, said Annie, to thank them. Good idea. And my goggles, too, said Annie. They left their gifts on top of the rest of the animal skins. Let's explore the cave before they come home, said Jack. It's too dark in the back, said Annie. We won't be able to see anything. I'll find out how Cro-Magnon saw in the dark, said Jack. He opened the Ice Age book. He found a picture of cave people holding odd-looking lamps. He read aloud to Annie. Cro-Magnons made stone lamps. They hollowed out a rock, filled it with animal fat, then burned a wick made from moss. There, said Annie. She pointed to two stones near the fire. In the hollow of each was gooey white stuff and a pile of moss. We have to be careful, said Jack. He picked up one stone. It was smaller than a soup bowl, but much heavier. Jack held the stone close to the fire and lit the piece of moss. He lit another lamp and gave it to Annie. Carry it with two hands, he said. I know, she said. Jack tucked the book under his arm. He and Annie carried their stone lamps to the back of the cave. Hey, I wonder where this goes, said Annie. She held her lamp up to an opening in the wall. I'll check in the book, said Jack. He put down his lamp and flipped through the Ice Age book. I think it's a tunnel, she said. Be right back. Wait a second, said Jack. Too late. She had squeezed into the opening and was gone. Oh, brother, said Jack, sighing. He closed his book and peeked into the opening. Come back here, he said. No, you come here, said Annie. Her voice sounded far away. You won't believe this. Jack picked up his lamp and book. He ducked into a small tunnel. Wow, came Annie's voice. Jack could see her lamp flickering at the other end. Crouching down, he hurried toward her. At the end of the tunnel was a huge cavern with a high ceiling. Annie held her lamp close to the wall. Animals were painted on the wall in strokes of red, black, and yellow. There were cave bears, lions, elk, reindeer, bison, woolly rhinos, and mammoths. In the flickering light, the prehistoric beasts looked alive. Chapter 5 is titled Snow Tracks. I'll read that one to you next week. So just a reminder, in time we talked about AM and PM. Remember, AM is morning until noon. PM is afternoon into the evening until midnight. Also, we talked about two new U.S. symbols, the Pledge of Allegiance and the American flag. Remember to take a look at the videos that are attached with my lesson plans for this week, because that'll explain a little more about the U.S. symbols. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to have your parents contact me somehow, and I will definitely help you out if you need help with anything. I hope all of you are still being kind Cavaliers and have a good week. Go Cavs, and I'll see you guys next week in my teaching videos. Have a good week.